I believe I have the agenda here. Oh. Oh, okay.
Oh, did I make, oh, I did make you a co-host. Okay.
All right. Is that okay? Is this okay?
Yes.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming and attending the Outreach Committee meeting this evening. It is 7:05. So I call the meeting to order. Before this, would you please take a look at the, not the agenda itself, but the determination to continue to hold meetings virtually. This is a directive from the city, whereas the neighborhood commissioners have been given the authorization to adopt AB 361, which means that we will be holding meetings virtually during this COVID-19 state of emergency. So please read, I've just given a summary, but if you need to read the paragraph in item 1, please do. And we'll move on to the next item. So call to order has been made. We would like to approve the agenda at this point. So I will scroll down the agenda and please take a look at it. If you are agreeable to it, to the contents or not, please let us know. If anyone is ready to move to approve the agenda and second it, please.
So I'll move Lizzie to approve the agenda.
All right, so Laura. And Lolita, seconds?
Rosie.
Oh, Rosie. Thank you, Rosie. Okay, agenda has been approved. Let's move on to public comments, 1 to 2 minutes per speaker. Any comments at this time? I guess I would just like to announce the Martin Luther King Day of Service event this Saturday. Laura, do you remember the time?
Yes, from 10 till 2. And it seemingly is mostly an appointment or drive-through event.
Yes. And UNNC partnering with World Harvest Food Bank is providing a total of 120 boxes of food, which contain even protein. So it is a good deed and a good service to the community. So thank you to everyone involved making this possible. Any other comments?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, Rosie.
Sweet Green, this was a problem before that I had reached out to CD10 when Jeff was there, and that's that their vendors are parking their vehicles in the red off of 36th Street and that 11th Ave, and it's very hard to see. And it's like an accident waiting to happen because there's cars parked on both sides of the street in the red, so we can't see when cross traffic is coming north and south.
Is it, I'm sorry, Rosie, is it Sweet Green or is it the developer?
Well, they're working on Sweet Green's location.
Right. But it's still Asher who's more in charge, right?
Well, I don't know. It's just like a bunch of different contract, different contractors' cars and little white vans. They're like all over the place.
Got it.
And you're easing out, trying not to get hit, but it's so hard. They're there constantly every day.
All right, Rosie.
Thank you.
We cannot comment at this point, but at this time, but we will be sure to forward this issue to the respective persons.
Thank you.
Laura, yeah, sure.
Well, it's going to sound like a related comment because it kind of is. The developer there at 36th and 11th and 36th and 10th is first name Asher, and I'm forgetting his last name. However, be aware, he is running for mayor. So that's all I have to say. But Rosie, you know what to do with that, right? As an outreach expert.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Laura. Anyone else with public comments? Okay, so let's move on to the next agenda item, introductions from attendees. Let's see. We know each other, right? Maybe Mickey and Josh might want to introduce themselves to Lolita, who I don't think, or maybe even Rosie might not know who they are. Mickey?
Sure. Yes.
Just
Hello.
a quick
Nice.
intro.
Sure. Nice to meet you, Lolita. I think I saw you on one of the larger meetings, but I've been working with the communications committee for, I think, just over a year. My background is actually, my original background is in real estate, and I've sort of slowly made the move over to more marketing and branding until opening up my own shop over 5 years ago now. And so I've been kind of leading the front on the rebrand, and yeah, that's it. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Mickey. Josh, how are you? Would you like to introduce yourself, please? You might be muted. Josh, are you there?
I don't think he is.
Okay. All right. So we'll move ahead to the next item. Let's see. Oh, I think I guess I'll stop sharing at this time. And the next item is the continuing on the conversation about the general outreach plan. So are there any updates that anyone would like to share at this time before I go into the more specific?
Before you ask us what we failed to do.
Well, I just want to get that out of the way. So if there are no updates, we could just continue our conversation on the other items.
Well, Lizzie, I think the only update that I could think of, but it's more of a contextual one, is that it does seem that our excitement about maybe having in-person events was premature, as some are getting canceled, but we are talking about at least one that you don't know yet that we might be participating in. So I don't remember what exactly we had said about in-person events, but it's looking more and more like this fiscal year, there still won't be very many, if any.
Yes, I was hoping we could have a space at the Saturday event, but it doesn't seem that way. So it's going to be just drive through. So
Right.
there won't be people circulating, so there's no point in us being there, I guess,
Right.
at this point. Okay, so on the Region 4, Western Heights, the proposal that they made about the sending a postcard to their stakeholders, neighbors and stakeholders. We had, I believe in our last meeting, we thought that it might be a good option to take them up on their offer. And because of their small footprint, that a pilot program restricted to that region would be feasible. So I guess our next step is to just focus on also whether, and this is coming up in the next item, whether we would like to take advantage of the new branding rollout to maybe incorporate, this project. But that's something that we could keep open in the conversation, maybe in the next agenda item. As for the new neighbor care package, is Dolores here? I don't think so, right?
No, but I,
okay, yes, Laura.
yeah, did we get back to Greg and Chris or whoever was doing that? Did we ever get from them what the content, what they wanted to say in there?
No, I failed to ask them.
Okay.
But again, it was just the timing because the branding rollout
Right.
is now becoming a reality. So I think we may want to wait a little bit and just make sure if we want to incorporate that project into the part of the branding rollout.
Right, but we're not suddenly rejecting something that they actually gave us. That's I'm concerned the other way around. They never said, okay, here's what we want. Fine.
Yes, exactly. Not yet. So we could
tell them what we're doing.
Yes, yes, we can circle back to them and ask them. Yes. All right. So for the new neighbor care package, I guess what I could say at this point is we still have some items that we might be able to share with either new neighbors or seniors who may benefit from information, actual materials handed to them. Gibson is, I think he's going to, because we ran out of all the outreach materials that he gave us for Ciclavia. So I asked him if we could have an extra batch of them, and he agreed. But as you know, he was quarantined during the holidays, so he's slowly going back to work. I will follow up with him on that, on his offer. And we still have a good number of paper bags left, right? From the Ciclavia event, the ones that Grace donated. So I guess we could also use those. Any other ideas that?
Well, Teresa, do you want to mention what was discussed last night with your idea about what can go into bags?
Oh, yes, certainly. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Last night at the Public Safety Emergency Preparedness meeting, we are just getting started, or they're just getting started, but I had some ideas when you are ready to do outreach and we have bags, that maybe we can put in some small items that can help people during an earthquake. And I got some information on can openers, but they're like the can openers you use when you go camping, not they're manual, but they're really small. And then maybe a flashlight, which we could have our logo put on the flashlight. But I don't know, there's some ideas if and when we start having events that we can put these items in the handout bag.
Okay, that sounds good and something that we could definitely work on through in these meetings. So thank you, Teresa. Anything else?
Rosie has her hand up.
Yes, Rosie.
There was a family disaster supply checklist that we did have to go in the bags last time. They were from the City of Los Angeles Emergency Management Department. And one side was English and one side was Spanish.
Okay.
That's another useful item that you may want to consider.
All right.
If I could just let you guys know that I think they're working on that document now, Rosie, and they're going to have it in English, Spanish, and Korean.
Okay.
The emergency checklist, make sure you have sufficient water and, you know, 10 or 12 different things that they gonna
Put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Sounds good. Okay, I believe Mickey's next. Mickey, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, I just was wondering, so I think you mentioned bags. What are those already produced, or is that something that you guys are thinking of getting produced? Because I'm wondering if we could think about like economies of scale and maybe produce them that this way we could use them for other things too. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, right now we only have a bunch of paper bags that
Okay.
another board member donated, and they were exactly the right type of color. They were orange. They were supposed to be green, but when I went pick them up, they turned out to be the orange color, which is exactly what we needed. So we used them for a Levy event, and they're already labeled. They
Okay.
have the UNNC, the current logo. So for now, we are using those, and then we have a budget for actual, bags.
Okay.
But that's, yeah, we are definitely gonna be working on those. Yes.
Okay, cool.
In the
Cool.
future.
Yeah, maybe there's a way where we can kind of think about ways we can use them for also events and other things too, because that could be a nice way to like just maximize the budget in a way that's really good for
Right.
yeah, multiple
Yes.
use.
We usually give them away at the outreach in-person events, but that has been halted, as you know, with a pandemic. But definitely, yes, we'll be going back to that idea, and yes, practice. Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, so that was one of my tasks, researching the bags. So it became a conundrum. I mean, the paper is great because you can get, I'm forgetting the number, Lizzie, but it was something like, it was $96 for hundreds of
Ridiculously
bags.
cheap.
Well, the paper was very inexpensive. The other thing that was very inexpensive, we basically decided we just can't do it because it was unrecyclable plastic.
Right.
It looks like cloth, but it's plastic. And one of the things we're doing is say, skip the stuff, reduce your use of plastic. So we just thought, no, we can't. But then when you get into the actual really nice cloth bags, yeah, they're like $12 to $15 a piece on an economy of scale. So it almost was like, well, we really need to use the paper because it meets the other goals, and the orange color will stick with the new logo. So what we did for the logo sticker, one of our volunteers I bought the label stock, so UNNC would have to do it further, but she just printed our logo, the old one, but we could print the new one onto label stock, and we stuck them on the bag. So Teresa did the sticking, I did the purchasing, Rena did the put it on, print them out, and it was efficient. But on a big scale, obviously that's not the way to do it.
Yes, we'll need something.
But then the problem is, where do we keep these bags? I mean, we have storage, but it's like going and coming and coming and going. And if we pre-stuff the bags, really, then it's hard to store. So there's still some issues, but the main one was not using plastic. So if anyone finds it, randomly a source for better than paper bags that can have the logo imprinted on it, not pasted onto it, but which is not made out of plastic. That would probably be the longer term
Mhm.
goal. But the short
Yes.
term, I think the bags are fine, the paper.
Mhm. Thank you, Laura. Rosie, I guess.
The bags that we had gotten before, that was just the ones, not the really nice ones, but the other ones
The
that we
flimsy ones,
purchased.
what we call flimsy.
Yeah. Those were inexpensive, and I can't remember the name of the company that they were from.
Mhm. They were just not very
It would tear.
Yeah, they were cheap if you put a whole lot of stuff in them, but if you're just handing them out for information and maybe putting a little small, they're not to go to the grocery store and put your groceries in. They're not going to hold it that well,
Right.
depending on
But
what you put in them.
we might, if we were going to actually do things, so like for the emergency, can openers, little scissors, and little flashlights, we then would probably have to have a bag inside the bag, which is not terrible. But I mean, so it
But they
wouldn't
have
tear
other
through
bags. They have more bags there that from that company.
it.
They can send you samples, so you can tell if this bag is a thicker bag or a better bag. They
Mhm.
can send you samples of the bags.
Okay.
okay, let me write that down. Samples of bags. Okay. Mickey, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think my hand was accidentally like still raised, but I do have something to add.
Okay,
I work with a couple of vendors that I could also send your way.
perfect.
That might be helpful. Yeah, so I can share some of those if that's of any use.
Yes, yes, please do. Thank you so much.
And I'm gonna put my hand down. I'm sorry.
Yes, not a problem. All right. Okay. Let's see.
Teresa has her hand up.
Yes, Teresa.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Sure.
When we're talking about bags, are we talking about 500 bags or, 1,000 bags, 1,500 bags? What are we talking about?
That would have to be part of the conversation because I think it depending on the
Okay, but-
budget. Right now we have I think it's $500.
Right.
300. 300.
Yeah.
300. Okay.
Well, besides the cost, I want to comment on what Laura said, where we store things. So if we
Right.
know we have an event coming up, and let's just say we have 1,000 bags, we have a storage facility, we get 200 bags out, and then we put together a team of people to fill the bags. The filled bags do not have to be stored. All of the contents can be in boxes in our storage facility.
Mhm.
And then we can put together a team to fill 200 bags a week or a few days before the event. So I don't think we should not think about getting a large quantity because we're concerned,
Mhm.
that we won't be able to store the items in storage.
The issue that has come up in the past is that because we never really had a permanent storage facility, especially since the pandemic, we had bags and things stored in different places. And so that became a problem because then some of the items we lost to a water leak. Other items are they were in a garage. So some of the items I was able to get back, like the t-shirts and whatnot. But now we do have some storage at a storage facility, but I don't know for how long. Is it sustainable? It's
Okay.
just everything is just right now it's so up in the air. But yeah,
Okay.
ideally we would, obviously if we print out the larger the number of bags, the larger the order, it's cheaper per unit. So yes, definitely. That's something that we will definitely consider. Yes. Thank you, Teresa. Laura.
Okay, so when we had the good bags, which we have a few of, the thing is, we did buy thousands, as far as I know, and you could see them all over town, and you still do. So this is for the, I don't know if you guys can see that. This is the bag, as I still have one. You're seeing it in backwards, I'm sorry, but they were highly, highly visible, and I still see them at our local farmers market. So in terms of a branding launch, if it makes sense to spend the money to have a really good, bright canvas bag like this that we do hand out, if the only purpose is to have people carrying it around and branding us, that'd be great. What it didn't result in, you know, and why we stopped doing expensive good bags at random events, is it didn't really, people would sign up on our email list just to get the bag, but then they never even open the emails. You know, so do you know what I mean? It was not an effective, measurably effective tool to engage people, but it was for a while when these bags were new, very, you could visibly see people carrying them around at the grocery store, at the farmers markets, just walking down Washington Boulevard. So that was a cool thing.
Mhm.
And
Thank you, Laura. Raheem.
Yeah, just to counter that point a little bit from Laura, like I think that like as we're moving forward and like exploring these branding ideas, I think it's important to remember that you know, like a bag alone isn't like a branding initiative, and so, and that's like kind of, that's part of the reason why we're here tonight, right? We want to really talk about how to kind of like holistically move our organization in a direction that hasn't necessarily been done before. So you know, I think it's important to kind of like remember these past initiatives and kind of maybe what they netted for us, but also understand that like what we're trying to do moving forward is different than what we've done before, and hopefully more effective, because it is, again, like more holistic and just kind of firing on more cylinders than just one.
mm-hmm.
All right. Point taken. Thank you, Raheem. Let me see if we have anything.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, my last thought, Lizzie, it's
Yes.
really, is the bag part of the branding, or is it just a swag bag, as it were, where it's the right colors, it has the logo, but it's not meant to have a lifetime. It's just meant that its contents become important to the receiver. So, I mean, two really different goals.
Mhm,
And maybe the latter goal is the real goal.
mhm. Yes. Okay.
And Mickey has his hand up, I think.
Yes, Mickey.
But he's muted.
I'm so sorry. I'm like so bad at finding this raising hand thing. No, just to that point, Laura, and I think it's a good point. And tying into what Raheem said, I think about this holistic approach, I think my mindset just about as far as where that kind of moment of cost meets, you know, sort of brand articulation across a variety of mediums is like, could we be benefiting ourselves in approaching it from a one size fits all, and we order in mass, and we're doing that checking the box of like a brand awareness moment, but then we're also filling the need for these safety earthquake safety kind of bags, and if there's a way, because that almost then informs the design of them, and we can start to think like that, the more sort of collaborative that we, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I was, so yeah, that's just my 2 cents, Dad. But
Well, right,
So
and
maybe bags out, masks in, given the times we're living. And it is true. Now, when I look at someone, when I meet someone on the street, the first thing I look is whether they have a design on their mask or not. So that's another possibility. So, okay.
Right. And some of the other committees have little thoughts on it. Like I think, and Teresa will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think environmental had talked about monarch seeds, seeds for the plant, milkweed plant, to attract monarch butterflies. I mean, right? So the little inexpensive seed packets. So, you know, I mean, it just depends where we're going to go with this. And where we have money to toss away, because some of this is not going to work, but we won't know if it works, quote works, without trying.
Mhm.
So,
All right, so I know we have lots of ideas, but at some point, right, we will need to decide on which course of action to take, but definitely many, many options here. Okay, so I guess at this point we just leave this item open. We will continue the conversation next month. We've been holding the meetings once every month, but because of now we're going to pursue the branding rollout more actively. So I don't know. I have decided that we will meet next month as well. So hopefully we can decide on a more definite course of action, okay, by next month. Let's now go on to the next agenda item, which I would like to dedicate some time.
oh, I'm sorry, Lizzie.
Yes.
Just one other thing. Are we tabling the discussion about how to reach out to apartment buildings and, well, tenants? Not that I've done anything on this, but
Yes, we will
do that
everything-
next month.
Yes,
Okay.
to the next month.
And
Yes.
Rosie has her hand up.
Yes, Rosie.
Did the board already decide on what logo, what new branding they were going to be using? Or that's still up in the air?
Just the concept of the logo, but
Mhm.
not all of the iterations, but I think that's what we're going to look at tonight, right? In part.
Well, no, the logo and like the branding was approved. That's what it was
Mhm.
approved a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
what we're working through now are individual and collective like outreach initiatives.
Mhm.
Right. Well, also though, Raheem, isn't it right that the business card looks different than the letterhead, and the letterhead looks different than the agendas, and the agendas look different than, I don't know, the website. So you're going to show us, if not tonight, soon, all of those kind of final recommendations, right? I mean, we've approved the logo and the colors and the typeface, right? And the concept, but not, you haven't even done all of these yet, correct?
Well, we
We've done a
approved
lot
the
of it.
logo and the word mark, and then I think within the document that was approved, I think and Mickey, I think there were a couple different like
Right.
uses of the logo that were in that document. So in our mind, all those are approved, and they'll be used differently on different things. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rosie, that was, I think, back in September, maybe October, but it was a couple of months ago on the board agenda.
Yeah.
Rosie, I can forward you that document if you want to check it out.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I was in a meeting, that showed them all, but I wasn't sure if actually said yes to which one. Okay.
Yeah, cool. I'll send that to you, Rosie.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next item? So I guess this is gonna be the communications committee taking on this item, the UNNC branding rollout feedback, and we'll start with the postcard project, a possible outreach campaign, possibly using EDDM, which is massive mailing from a service from the US, from the Postal Service. So I guess Raheem?
Yes, I think Mickey's gonna get us started.
Okay.
So
with
Mickey,
like
you need to be a host. Who's sharing?
I mean, I wasn't going to share anything, but I'm happy to share something. I can.
we should share those slides, like the specific
Yeah,
slides.
I don't remember if I just opened it, but I definitely have them. So my internet's been suck, and everybody's telling me that as I share, it's fuzzy. But so Raheem, do you want to do that one, or does anybody have it up?
I have it. If
Okay, so I'll make you.
share.
I mean, like last night, they just kept saying, can you let someone else share? So.
Were they talking about the screen?
The screen, sharing the screen. My internet
couldn't
was
help myself.
fuzzy. Yeah.
But I'm here all week, folks. All right, let me pull this up.
Maybe just while you're doing that, I can backtrack a little bit. And I think it's good to Rosie's question before, just to kind of like tee us up and how we're looking at things. So, you know, as you guys know, we kind of went through this brand strategy phase where we talked with every member and every group within UNNC and really, or sorry, not every member, but the co-chairs, and we got a sense of kind of, for lack of a better term, the elevator pitch of UNNC and kind of trying to find the crossover. And, you know, we distilled that into the strategy, which definitely took some refining and work. And I think even that last meeting that we had over the summer where we got a bunch of feedback, I think made this drastically better. And so I feel like it's this constant kind of pulse check that we've been doing over the course of the last, call it, year. I think after we had that last meeting where we got as I understood it, the logo, the colors, and the general brand direction approved, we kind of sat together and really compiled a list of like blue skies. What do we want? How do we want to announce ourselves? How do we want to speak, not just internally, but also externally? And that's, I think a component of that does include outreach. But it was sort of blue skies, right? We were just kind of throwing things down and some things were completely off base. And then we were trying to refine based on one, cost, two, what's the feasibility of execution, not just beyond cost, but also just like what we can actually do. And I think we narrowed it down to a list of things, and internally, those things were, I think first and foremost was the business cards. I think we understood that as an immediate deliverable. And then several other items that, you know, are sort of infrequent use, which sort of, I'm using the operational definition of internally, even though some of these things are external facing items like an agenda, for example. But so we kind of front loaded with those internal items, I'll call it. And then externally, we thought of, again, that sort of like, what is the most viable thing we can complete in the near future, kind of announce ourselves and really work from a cohesive place, right? Where things will look different, but they should feel the same. So an agenda speaks to a certain set of objectives and a business card speaks to a certain set of objectives, but they still have to communicate the brand. And that's kind of how we approached everything. So I think, you know, we're here discussing specifically two ideas that we had, which were the postcard and the community queue. And now these are rough mock-ups, but the design intent is as it would be in the final. So here we're using what I'm calling a component of our brand, which is a graphic element. It's a pattern that sort of came out of the idea of, you know, the individuality and the inclusion of UNNC. So grouping many different varied components together, right? Just like we have our 6 sections of our neighborhood, of our neighborhoods of UNNC. There was a moment, there was a brand pillar that was about how we were an inclusive brand. So this for us speaks about diversity and inclusion in a broader sense. And we want to use our graphic elements, which I'm going to call that, so they're made up of our logo, as ways to really create a visual language that captivates and kind of is memorable. So this is something I as I see it, and this is obviously up for discussion, is meant to really be traced across multiple deliverables for the brand, whatever they may be, right? So if we end up doing tote bags, maybe we see this at the bottom of like the tote, right? Running along the bottom. Just a thought, but it's something to really hook the person who's seeing this and totally associate it with UNNC. And I feel like it's kind of distinct as far as things go. And then I guess on the side B, Raheem, if we could just speak about the messaging, we started to think of, this, and maybe you can explain this better, Raheem, but we were talking about messaging of like, what is our sort of launch campaign around? The idea was really, I feel like you do a better job of explaining it, so I'm going to let you explain it.
And no pressure here, huh? So yeah, so the overarching campaign, and we talked about this at the board meeting last week. The overall message is the United Neighborhoods of You. We wanted to, we felt like that phrase, even that sentence, allows our stakeholders to really see themselves in the work that we do. I think it also has another added bonus of, I think people get tripped up on our name a lot. The United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council is kind of a mouthful, a lot of neighborhoods in there, and yeah. And so this, it kind of shortens that and makes, the United Neighborhoods of You. That I think the phrase, the United Neighborhoods, is the strongest part of our name. Like that idea of neighborhoods united, like it makes you feel connected to something. I think that if you're like a superhero fan, like you think of like the Avengers or Voltron, like these different distinct things coming together to like make one bigger, better thing. And so for a lot of reasons, I think we thought that this phrase, this idea, the United Neighborhoods of You, is something that we could use across a lot of different of our initial rollout materials. I don't think this is necessarily phrasing that would be around like forever and ever. I think like for the rollout, I think it's very valuable to make sure that our stakeholders are able to kind of see ourselves in the work that we're doing, so that we can really have more people join our efforts.
Can I add one thing too?
Yeah.
Sorry. The copy beneath too is, we had some talks with Dennis originally about this, about sort of the tone of voice and how we would speak. And it's gestural at this point. Like we're not saying this is end all be all. But the idea was to have a really approachable tone of voice, right? So something that everybody can understand, and it's kind of short and sweet. An example of this that I think is a great reference point for us is Oscar Health Insurance, which we are by no means a health insurance company, but if you think about the variety of types of people that they're speaking to, it's far and wide. And I think very similar to that, we have a group of an audience of stakeholders that is far and wide and diverse. And I think for us, like, and tying back to the messaging of United Neighborhoods of You, which we talked about being dynamic, meaning that it could be the United Neighborhoods of whatever the person feels, right? So we want to hear from them. So there's this dialoguing that's happening. So it's meant to be approachable. It's meant to be engaged with. And I think that's a big part of what we were trying to do. So not necessarily the words that are there are set in stone, but that it's like meant to be a direction.
And I think that's kind of the why of why we're here tonight. I think that we took on the idea, the design of this article, this thing, but really want to kind of talk to the outreach committee about what our outreach goals are as a neighborhood council. Like, where do we want people to go to? What call to action is most important to us? Really want to have that dialogue so that we can play around with this copy, share it back with you, so that we all are kind of in agreement on that. So I don't know if we want to open up the floor for comments, questions. Gabby, Josh, I don't know if there's anything else you guys, or I guess Mickey has something else to say first.
No, if they do, they can go. I've been talking a lot, but I do have one other thought. Okay. Yeah, good.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the other thing, and we were talking before this, is like the way I want, or the way I've kind of expressed it in our meetings has been like, we've constantly said like we want us to be like a practice what we preach kind of an organization. And I think a lot of that is, especially at this point in the rebrand, is like, how do we become unified in the approach of like, this brand is so new, and what is so impactful for, or what is so necessary for an impactful brand is is like cohesion and showing sort of a consistent approach to things, even though they may look different or feel different, but that's because of the objectives. You can still totally, as a receiver of this postcard or a receiver of a business card, you know that's a UNNC thing that you're holding. So I feel like what we were really talking about is like, how can we open this dialogue so that we are sort of like making sure that we're all speaking from the same playbook. And I hopefully everybody has this, but I think beyond just a logo, like how do we approach this as a united front, and I think that's totally the goal here. Because that's kind of our brand.
Okay, so do Gabby or Josh? Oh.
No, nothing to add. Thanks, Lizzie.
No, I have nothing to add.
I have here that 2 participants raised their hand. I'm not sure who. Let me check.
Teresa and Laura.
Okay,
In reverse
so
order though, Laura first.
Teresa and Laura, and then I guess I will have.
I would say Teresa can go first. I was saying that, but then I've been getting notices that I'm muted. So I'm not muted, but let Teresa go first.
Yes, Teresa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'm just going to go down my list. First, Oscar Health is owned by Jared Kushner's family. So I don't know if that's a good example to use, Mickey. I like, as I mentioned before, I love everything about the design and everything. I'd like to know if we did this as a postcard, where the label would be. You don't have to answer it right now. Let me just get all my questions out. Also, the mailing service offered by the Postal United States Post Office. When a few months ago, when Greg and Chris were talking about doing the mailing in their part of town, I got some information for Lizzie on that service. And one of the things I saw was that if you uploaded your design within their parameters, and I don't know if it was a 5x7 or 3x5, whatever that is, then the cost was much less than if you had them do a custom size. So I'd like to know if you guys thought about that. Also, I sort of mentioned this the other day, Raheem. I love the design. I just, especially like on the letterhead, and if we're talking about the agenda, can we have, or I believe we should have, the official seal on that? And as I mentioned, I've been looking at other neighborhood council meeting minutes, and they have, some of them just have the official seal and have the list of board members or executive committee. Some of them also have their logo, but I've been thinking about trying to possibly do the minutes in a different way. And if we have that banner, whatever banner we come up with for our agenda, I could use that banner possibly for the meeting minutes. And then the last thing is, I mentioned this two meetings ago, but it came up again last night. With the emergency preparedness, I had thought about Grace and Dennis doing a little conversation, like, someone taping a quick conversation. Hi, I'm Grace. Hi, I'm Dennis. We'd like to let you know that you come to UNNC to find out anything you need to know about earthquake preparedness, or here's some information you might want to know about being prepared for the next earthquake, or something just like a little video with the two of them talking. Dennis was a little hesitant, but and I'd love for us to have those kind of things on our website. And I know I've talked a lot about, and we're talking about branding now, but that page, we could have a drop down when we, with all the committees, go to that page, and then there's all the information you need about earthquakes. Besides the meeting minutes, besides the agenda and the video, we should also be thinking about how we can provide our community information. So, okay, that's all my stuff.
Yeah, as always, Teresa, thank you for the detailed feedback. It's definitely super helpful. I'll kind of go in reverse order of your feedback. Question about video. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. One of the things that we've talked about on our social is, I mean, this is not really the purpose that you're talking about, but like we talk about like humanizing our neighborhood council. And I think that comes, you can do that by like having us board members be more out front with things. Our photographer, Josh Johnson, is also a videographer. One thing I didn't mention at the board meeting is that he's shot and in the process of editing a series of videos talking to different business owners around the neighborhood. So that's one series that we're going to do. I think this thing you're talking about with Dennis and Grace is a great idea. That's something I'm sure that he can knock out. So yeah, I love ideas like that. Please keep them coming. Yeah, the official seal question. I don't really know what to do with that question. It's something that we decidedly left off of these materials as we were creating them. I understand that people have a view contrary to that. So it's something that.
Well, so should we vote on it? I mean, if you look at Laura's agenda, it has the seal on it. I mean, maybe we don't have
Right,
any
and so
options.
well, you know, Teresa, now let me say this. I asked what's his name, Gibson, specifically about business cards as to whether the city seal had to be on business cards. He said no, and so we felt empowered in that sense to leave it off. So I think that's the bigger question. A, is it required? If it's required, then it's not really a question. If it is required, okay, cool, we'll put it on what's required. If it's not required, then what should we put it on becomes the next question. So yeah.
Does that mean you're going to email Gibson, or do you want me or Laura to email Gibson? Or I can ask him at the executive committee meeting?
I'll email Gibson. Yeah, that's fine. I'll email him.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and so and thanks for your questions about the EDDM stuff, the every door direct mail. So I can't remember if I mentioned this tonight, but in 2019, when I was also chair of the communications committee, we came up with the same idea about delivering postcards using EDDM. And so yeah, everything that we're doing now is geared towards that template. There's a bunch of different sizes you can use with EDDM. There's a series of sizes, small to big. And so I think what we're basing this one on right now is like a 6.5 by 9. I think that's the last thing that I know Mickey and I talked about. So yeah, wherever we do end up with this, it'll be in their size. And yeah, you're right. There are spaces you need to leave on the card for like the label that goes on it. We will account for that. This is like somewhat early stages of this design, but that is in our head. That's what we are thinking about. That we're definitely going to go the route of least resistance with EDDM for sure. And I think that was it, except for the Oscar thing. But
yeah, okay,
I think
that's great.
good ideas can come from a lot of different places, even if the source of that place
I
is
don't
not.
know about that, but okay.
I mean,
But
we
you
can
answered
debate
all
the
my
effectiveness of Oscar. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, thank you, Rahim.
All righty.
Laura?
Yeah. So
before, okay.
go ahead.
I remember maybe you're gonna, are you gonna reference the maps?
Me, Laura?
Yes.
I might. Yeah, not the maps per se, but the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a number of
maps-
different topics. Yes.
Yes, I understand, but on the maps, maybe you could just summarize, because I remember there's a whole analysis that goes on, but I think for the sake of time, we can just capture in 2 sentences what might be a problem with the maps.
I probably
Go
would have
ahead.
been done by now with that piece. But anyway, Rahim, one of the things on the bid is I think what Lizzie is referring to for the Region 1, which is Arlington Heights in Angeles Vista. I just happen to have the numbers because UNNC funded 12 years ago a different project, but they're between our 2 neighborhoods, Arlington Heights, Angeles Vista. There's 1,503 distinct residential properties, but especially in Angeles Vista, quite a few of those properties have anywhere from 15 to 35 units. They're large. So they're showing on the bid 2,000, something like 2,000. That's a way undercount, because just on Gramercy alone, between Washington and Venice, you're going to add 100 units to the parcel count. I mean, I did that.
I'm sorry, when you're talking about the bid that
the bid that is in from the ED whatever It showed
Yeah.
a certain number of parcels. So we'd have to be really careful that they give us the right number, because I think it's, in the end, they charge us after they're done and not before, correct? I mean, because
I don't know
we're
how
gonna,
they charge.
well, I don't know how it is either, but I'm just telling you, I don't know everybody else's numbers. I just happen to know that Region 1 number because we funded with the planning department and another organization a resource survey, historic resource and building permit survey. And so we had the exact count. It was 1,503. So
Okay.
not apartments, but buildings, right? So that's
Yeah.
the most minor thing. It's just, let's be sure we have our numbers really correct. On the postcard, on the assumption that these are still mailed, or are they not? If they're still
Well, so
mailed.
the idea, and just kind of back to your last point too. So we're not trying to blanket our entire footprint with these via EDDM. Like that'd be way too costly. So, and what I sent to the board last week was what I did in 2019, which is basically like I went and I chose a couple of routes in each
Got it.
area.
Okay.
And that was it. So yeah, those numbers aren't meant to represent the entire.
No, that's okay, but they're still,
yeah.
even using that service, it's still postal, right? It's still mailed.
Yeah.
So in that case, I have a lot of experience with postcards, and what they do now, I don't think the mailing side, which I think would be not this side we're looking at, but the one before, I think it cannot be full bleed. I think you have to have a 1/2 inch at the bottom, and nowadays a 1/2 inch on the right, because they don't even know in advance if they're going to put that barcode across the bottom or up and down vertical on the side. So in other words, there's lots of weirdness to what they do. And yeah, you have to have place for the label. And yeah, you have to have a certain not a prepaid postal, but a spot. So it may be on the design, it's a 1/2 of it's got, more like what we're looking at now. Mickey has his hand up. I don't want to interrupt, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't mean to interject. I just wanted to say that I think it's in terms of process, I think it's good to like talk about the execution and when it comes time to production. But from my standpoint as the designer creating this stuff, I think it's good to keep in mind, especially when we go at it. But I think if we're not yet decided on some of the layout and like this, I think it's a little premature to talk about the specifics of production. So I just want to make sure that we're saving everyone's time, and that's all.
Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing Lizzie's take on the design, and of course everybody else, but that's really why we're here, to finalize the design and get
and the message,
more creative juices flowing.
Okay, well, I'm trying to spit out my other stuff and then I'll be quiet. So I mentioned this a little bit, but we're going to need to be able on the messaging. We don't necessarily have to repeat the message 3 times in 3 languages, but somewhere in it, you're going to always have to have, UNNC as your neighborhood council, in Spanish and Korean. I mean, it has, even if it's in the smaller type, we're going to have the 3 languages. And then the big concern that I have at this moment in time, and Teresa has had some experience with this as well, is we're suddenly getting confused with not 1, not 2, but 3 different other organizations. There's United Neighbors for Los Angeles. There's United Neighbors, a different one, a California coalition to protect single family neighborhoods. So that's www.unitedneighbors.net. There's Our Neighborhood Voices, which is the new entity that's going out big on the road against SB 9. So I think we really need to, on most of our materials, and we agreed there is just no room on the business cards because they're small, but I think on most of them, we're going to have to figure out a way somewhere to have our full name. And I know that interrupts the design, but we've already been confused in public hearings. And Teresa had an incident with these other 3 organizations whose message is really quite different than ours. So I think we have to be careful. On the logo, the city logo, I think it is required on at least some of the material. I think it's going to be required on the agenda, the letterhead for sure, where we're writing letters to city officials. We're going to have the city seal on it. And I haven't read the most recent version of the social and digital media policy, but it's really a communications policy, and it probably addresses whether or not we need the seal. And I heard from a couple of people who on the business card, it's just that they want to tell people that they work for the city, in effect, that they are representing the city when they have a, you know, they're on the street and they come across somebody chopping down a tree. They say, I'm with United Neighborhoods. It's a city entity. So the card might need, the business card might need that small, but a seal. So, you know, for a different reason. So those are my concerns. I love the postcard, by the way. And the last question I have in terms of messaging, though, we had sort of suddenly settled the last couple of years on a tagline, your voice counts. You know, that's not the brand, that's just a tagline. But does that go away when we do United Neighborhoods of You? Because our job as a neighborhood council, all 99 neighborhood councils have the same job, and that is to empower our community members, stakeholders, to bring their voices to the city, right? That's our job. So we just used it as a tagline, not in, you know, as opposed to anything, your voice counts. So I think United Neighborhoods of You is good. I mean, it's really good, but in the smaller type, I think we need to sort of still address, not necessarily the same tagline, but address how we're helping our people gain their voices since we are the United Neighborhoods of You, because it's not that the 23 of us are going to forever be the ones going to City Hall. I mean, we need to keep bringing in more people like we have been. I don't know how you express it, but that's sort of the basic concept.
Yeah, and I think that's like, that remains like our question about, again, like going back to like the content of this postcard, like it's not
Right.
about like trying to figure out like what tagline or whatever, but like what content or what words will express to people all that we want to express.
Right.
And so that's
So I can't remember, but like, wasn't your voice counts an election thing that we had
We
decided
used
to
it in the
use?
election, but it wasn't the first time.
Yeah.
Your vote
Oh.
counts was the transliteration. Your voice counts, your vote counts.
Mhm.
yeah.
May
I mean, again, we don't have to stay with that. I'm not saying that, but it's like
Yeah.
that our job is to empower everybody else.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think I think that's pretty clear in like in everything that we've been saying both here and everywhere else.
Right.
It's just a matter of like how to say that in a way that's both eloquent and catchy and
Right.
engaging and yada yada yada.
And new
I do have a
and fresh. I mean, that's what you guys are trying to do.
yeah,
Freshen
and I
everything
think
up.
exactly. I am a little bit this whole name confusion thing. I know you guys have mentioned it before. So like so like if people are confused, and even though our name is United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council, I'm not sure how the long name, the United Neighborhoods of blah 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 blah, is less confusing than our quote unquote short name. So I don't know. I mean, I think that like with something like this, like our end goal, our hope is that somebody will engage with it, and that's going to mean either signing up for emails or following us on Instagram or adding us, like whatever, right? And so, like once they do that, there's no more confusion. And so I'm not sure that the long. I don't know that the solution to alleviating confusion is to go to our longer name.
I'm confused though. Isn't our full name on the front of the business card? Like
no,
we have
not in the new iteration. The full name is really, really long. The United Neighborhoods of the historic Arlington Heights.
I'm sorry.
Adams,
I
Jefferson
misunderstood.
Park
I'm sorry, I
communities.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Long name with
Long.
there's 3 O's in that long.
Long.
I missed that. I missed that.
And one idea, which was to just write the whole damn thing out, make it look like its own barcode. It would be so tiny on business card that it's just impossible. And it's obviously just the footer on the letterhead, that's easy enough. But it's everything else. How do you do it? I mean, in other words, it needs to have a letterhead / template for agendas, but that's just a footer that anyone could insert. You know, you don't need to design that in.
So if we're using one name in the business card, does it make sense to use a different name in the postcard? And then also, like, I mean, I do actually agree, Raheem, like we don't, it's like the longer version name, it just doesn't make sense to add it to the postcard, you know, like it's just really long.
Yeah, I think we really solve for that in what the text of this postcard is. I think that's where we have to aim to solve for it, not in like the logo or the word mark. I don't think that's where we are gonna. I don't think that's where people are gonna be like, oh, it's this thing and not that thing.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be in the text of what we're saying there.
Okay, I would like to give my feedback, please.
We would love your feedback, Liz.
Okay, so just a few things. On side A, would you please, Raheem, would you show us side A? So I would like, I understand this is as a mosaic. It's meant to display our diversity and all that. But at the same time, when people are looking at it, I think they might need to still be able to see maybe in the middle, the logo. The logo, because the logo is on the side B, right? But it's small. So maybe in the middle, if we could have the logo and then everything else. And I think that might guide the audience a little better on what this is. And then on side B, I think we need to spend more time looking at what the message is gonna be, right? This is our opportunity, probably tonight, hopefully. So I think that at some point in this whole discourse, we talked about the fact that we are a group of neighborhoods, so we are united neighborhoods. But what really probably distinguishes us from the rest of other neighborhoods is that we are a bunch of historic neighborhoods. And I think that that is a hook. That is what is attracting many of the new coming neighbors to this area. The fact that the houses are, they have a certain look. And I think that sentiment is lacking here. So I think more than displaying how that we are all the names of the neighborhoods, but somehow incorporate the fact that we are a group of historic neighborhoods. I think that part, I think I would like to see that here. And then
maybe, let me just say real fast, Lizzie, and maybe like
yes,
it makes sense to put that our long name there in the body of this, like we are the historic neighborhoods of da 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 da. Like, I think we might want to try something like that and see if that, see how that.
Can we try it on side A, maybe? Like, since
Well,
we already have the logo on side B.
well, no. So I'm not saying like it would be in the logo form. I'm saying like just in text form, like in like where like our
right.
basically like we need to beef up this paragraph here.
Mhm.
And I'm saying like maybe that's a nice opening. Like I think it is important and it is like resonant to kind of hear historic, like we are the historic neighborhoods of da 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 da. That
Yes, because
feels.
I think it's at the same time we want to we want to present ourselves as something fresh and new, and but it's also the fact that what's old is also new. It's also trending right now. It's what is attracting many of the newcomers, and what is the older neighbors take a lot of pride in. So anyway, that's one.
Yeah.
So in concept, I would like to have that included somehow in the message. And then where you say UNNC is your neighborhood council and go-to for all things. So community, policy, and local updates. So if we as a board can agree that these are our three main, we have many concerns and many ways to serve the community, but in that sequence and those 3 points are the main, selling points. Maybe that's something that as a board we could agree on. And then where it says, tell us what community means to you at unnc.org. I was just wondering how that would be. I suppose there will be like a form or something that they could fill in.
I don't think this had been finalized, right?
Yeah,
I think this is sort of,
I
this
couldn't
text was
remember.
placeholder. The text was actually just placeholder for whatever we decided ultimately. So like we were thinking, so first we were going to finalize the design, but then also finalize text. So if you have, if there's something that you think we should include as the outreach committee, I think that would be really helpful because that text wasn't actually final.
Okay, all right. Because so I misunderstood because I thought that's what you wanted to present to the board as a message itself.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, and maybe I should have explained that better, but what I was hoping to happen at the board meeting was we would get these general concepts approved and funded, and then we would work independently with the outreach committee and everybody else to kind of get the finals approved. But doing this in this way is where we're at.
All right. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good feedback.
So yes. So I guess we can keep talking about it. Yes. But so far I love it, and every time the more I see it, the more I warm up to it. So it's good. It's a good thing. Yes. So great job, you guys. I really love it.
Lizzie?
Okay, so I have 3 participants. So
it's Teresa, Rosie.
Because I can't see.
It's Teresa and Rosie, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Teresa.
Thank you, Lizzie. I just want to concur with Laura about the United Neighborhoods. There are a couple of organizations because of SB 9 that have now labeled themselves as United Neighborhoods. And I was at a meeting and someone said, oh, the United Neighborhoods. And I was like, no, we're a neighborhood council. This is just, Brentwood and Silver Lake or whoever it was that kind of got together. So I just wanted you to know that she is accurate, that sometimes I have to make a clarification that we are United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council.
Thank you. Rosie.
Okay, couple of things. All right, the postcard on the front is just all this, nothing else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. Okay. And inside, and is this was supposed to be mailed out or given out?
So our plan is what I've budgeted for, and this is subject to change. We were going to have 10,000 printed, but not necessarily pay to have all those EDDM'd. The remainder could be physically handed out and used at whatever events to hand out, or just if we wanted to organize people to walk around and hand them out, we could do that as well. But the idea is to get a lot printed, have some of them mailed, have the rest of them passed out.
Okay. Well, let's just say I was somebody who never knew anything about neighborhood councils.
Huh.
It definitely needs to have the city logo on it, because if I was to look at this postcard, it would, to me, would be just another junk postcard from all these entities that are trying to get me to go to their website. There's nothing there that tells me you are a city entity. There's nothing there that tells me, like the first thing, UNNC is your neighborhood council, and go to for all things community policy and local updates. To who? From where? From the city of LA, from the county, from the state, from where? Who am I? Who you're the voice to for who? To go where? So, and it needs to have something there about the city of Los Angeles, the seal, and something who we're the voice that goes to what entity.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
okay.
that's a good point. That's really helpful for us to frame. So again, the text here wasn't final, but I think this helps us to sort of figure out what text should go on there, which is not, we haven't finalized yet.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
a good point.
We want the stakeholders to know that what we've done and the things that can be done. You know, they need to know a little bit of background. Maybe we could say some things that we have done that has made a greater impact for the community, you know, like the oil drilling, how we've done certain things for the trees or the bulky items, something that we've done so that they can see, oh, okay, they were part of that. You know, we do a lot of giveaways of World Harvest, but we're giving these giveaways to them. Do those people even know that it's sponsored by neighborhood council? Are there any stickers anywhere? Is there a flyer somewhere? How do they know that this is sponsored by the neighborhood council? By us?
Lizzie, just
Yeah.
jump in on that one.
Rosie, this is actually part of this postcard serves a different purpose, I guess. We are launching our branding, our new look. So there's an opportunity later to you know, to present ourselves as so anyway, it's just I believe this is a different, it serves a different purpose rather than it is sort of saying, hey, this is us, this is our new us, and this is what we're gonna look like from now on. So
but if you're getting
as I understood, as I,
if this is a
sorry?
new us, if they never knew you from before, how would you introduce himself as a new us?
But we have done that in the past. So it's not like we haven't.
And this is, I think, one piece of the puzzle. It's not going to be the only communication they're going to get from us. It's just one of many different components.
Want that
so
it to them to mean something.
Yeah, I think if I can jump in a little bit, and I just think that there's a way that, and again, my background is in branding, and usually with a launch campaign, we find a message that can speak across a multitude of platforms, and in a sense, it's different. Like Rosie, it's a little bit unique in that we're an established brand and we've been around for 20 years, but we're also sort of announcing ourselves in a different way. And I think Laura used the word fresh before, which I think is a good term for it, but you're totally right in that we need to like hone in on the exact things that we're doing so people know that this isn't just some like another company asking us to go to their website or whatever, but it's like at the same time we also kind of have that objective, right? Like we have to get people to know who we are, especially with our new look and new feel. And the idea is that yes, there is some sort of what's the word, like re-upping of things that we've done before, but then there's also like we're trying to capture the attention of more people too. So it's like the people that have never heard of us, the people that don't know who UNNC is, that's who we also want to approach. And I think you're right. And like somebody mentioned about the like adding the historic language too and making this impactful as far as the messaging goes. But I think from our standpoint, a lot of this is filtering back into this idea of a launch. And so it's like, it's weird though, right? Because there is some things that we've done and that we have to show as like, this is our experience, this is who we are. But at the same time, we also like have people that just don't know who we are. So we have to like re-announce ourselves almost. And I think to Gabby's point too, and sorry, I'm kind of like meandering here, but I think what I would like us to do is like really think about this in the like holistic sense as like, this is one component of many components, many touch points that are going to have an impact on our stakeholders. So yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm like answering and providing some insight as to kind of what this piece is doing, but yeah.
Okay, and all that. I'm not asking to put everything that we've done on there, and I was saying it's a launching and all that, but it has to say a little bit more than what it's saying, and that's why I mentioned those things,
For sure.
on there, that definitely the logo for the city and information that who you're giving the information to, who you're the voice stakeholders to give a voice to the city council, LA City Council. So they don't think this is people from SB9 or this
Totally.
the NIMBYs or whoever.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we can all agree on is that the text that's there now needs to be revised. I
Right.
think we're all of that same mind.
Is
Yes.
it possible for us to do like a
Lily?
brainstorming session? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I jumped in.
Yes, you're
Okay.
absolutely right. Tonight is not, it's not gonna
It's not
happen
that-
tonight.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for clarifying that, because I really thought this was the text you were presenting to us. But so yes, we will have time to maybe in an upcoming session to do that. But I don't know who's next, Lolita or Laura.
Lolita should
Lolita.
go next because I've spoken so many times
Okay.
already.
Okay, Lolita, go ahead.
Hi, I just have a question. I'm in agreement with what Rosie is saying. I feel like we have to, it's on the back of the postcard, will there be our mission statement at least? Because if you stay to the mission statement, that kind of speaks to a lot. Instead of trying to put so much on a postcard, if you focus on a mission statement, because the mission statement is who we are. And I think that can actually address some of the concerns that perhaps Rosie was speaking to, which I agree what she's saying. So that was just my thought on it. I mean, we can't take away from a mission statement because a mission statement is very impactful.
Yeah, I think it's totally right. And you and Rosie are spot on. I think for me, and this is the designer in me, always thinking about like, what's the purpose of the piece, and not just messaging, but like, as far as what are we trying to have someone do when they receive it? And for us, like our idea was like, we gotta have this for people to go to our website. So that's where they could really explore more about us. But I agree with you, like as it stands right now, the messaging isn't enough and it's not there, but I think tweaking it a little bit and like gesturing at the tone of voice, like the way in which we talk to people is kind of what we're hinting at. So that's a little bit easier to digest and it's straightforward. I mean, the fact that we need to add 3 languages to totally will impact the design. So that's a helpful note too. But yeah, I totally hear you. I think as it stands right now, it's not right, but we're like getting in the direction, I think.
Because the mission statement is what got me interested when I read more up on it, the organization itself. That's why I feel like any company or organization is really huge what the mission statement is speaking to. So
yeah.
Thank you,
And
Mickey.
same for me, Lolita, too. That's how I came to the communications committee. So, yeah.
All right, Laura.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Lily.
I want to follow up a little on what Rosie asked. Are we, she asked, are we mailing the postcard or handing it out? So I feel like we would be doing both, but it clearly would be more expensive to print 2 versions, each at 5,000 or whatever, but that might be the right answer. Because I will tell you, the organization that I've done years of postcards for, and it's more a move to action, come to this event, come to this activity. But we have long since stopped mailing the postcards, and instead we distribute the postcards at restaurants, other local venues. In others, people pick them up off of the counters or at events. So we don't concern ourselves as much with the mailing side, right? I mean, we'll still have a mailing side just in case someone wants to grab the postcard and then mail it to a friend, but we are not as concerned with, we have a tiny little mailing side, in other words. So we use the whole back and half the front for our messaging and design. But if you're really mailing them, that's not useful. But I love the graphic design. See, I've redone our bag now. See,
It's ready for production.
yeah, but there's still another side. Remember, when we do a bag, you've got 2 sides. You've got.
When did you do that? That's.
I printed it out, and
What's happening here?
I mean, this is casual, but you know what I'm saying? This is a great, strong graphic, and I like it a lot. And but that's what it is. It's a graphic. It's not a message. Once you change it from the logo to the graphic, but it's really an interesting and strong graphic. So I think it's a thing, and I like it as a border, and I like it as a plane in the back, and I think we can use it. But the question would be, do we do 2 different kinds of postcards, one to mail and one to distribute? So, and I don't know if that, since you're talking thousands and thousands anyway for printing, I don't know if it really changes the price very much. So
yeah, I mean, and we were thinking like even more cost effective than that. Like, can we design and print one thing and have it used for both purposes? I mean, I think we have to have something to mail, just because we've tried like distributing things by hand before as a board, and like, who's going to do all that walking and handing things out?
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's.
Well, the other thing is, many years ago, we made a decision in Jefferson Park, and frankly, I don't remember who the we is anymore, but probably the we was the group of people in Jefferson Park who have went to UNNC one round and went to West Adams Heritage a different round to do communications. It was sort of a little bit of branding. It was about getting the HPOZ adopted. They did a little branding in that they were trying to get people to buy into having an HPOZ by being culturally proud. So there was some branding, and it wasn't just about, hey, you can save on taxes, because they figured out of the 2,000 households, many of them were elderly and they wouldn't ever save on taxes through a incentive program. But there was a very clear decision to do door hangers and not postcards and not flyers, because they felt that the door hangers would not get lost, and they did them in bright red. And indeed, there were and they did Walkman, and so 2,000 some of these door hangers were distributed, and for weeks that's all you could see in all of Jefferson Park that became the HPOZ, were these bright red door hangers just hanging, and everyone knew them. And then over the years, people still have them. They sometimes pull them out of a drawer and say, look, that's why I like the HPOZ. So I don't know that we want to do, you have yours?
Yes, of course.
So, which one, the first or the second? But anyway, the point is that they wanted the visibility. And I don't know that we want to do that either. It's a very expensive kind of thing to do. And these were 6 1/4 by 19. I mean, it was huge, but it was visible and people knew about it. And the folks in Jefferson Park ultimately won an award for their marketing campaign on that HPOZ. And it wasn't, I mean, UNNC just gave the money. It wasn't our campaign.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes,
Um,
Nikki.
Laura, I think we're on the same wavelength because we both, oh, she's gone, but we were talking about seeds and door hangers too. But I think this just in terms of process, I think it might be good for us to like maybe speak to all of the groups that have these individual needs and really talk through like their wish list, because I think it would be great for us to sort of like, especially with outreach, sort of be this like guardians of the brand, right? Because we really want to be cohesive and we want to be aligned, especially as we start to kind of roll this thing out. But I think it seems like there's so many different ideas and we want to be respectful of everyone's. I think everyone has great ideas and great input, but it might just be sort of how do we approach that? Because I want to be taking all that in and digesting it and then like approaching these items and making sure that everyone gets kind of like their fair share. But I think we have to kind of work from the same playbook. And we sort of need a coach, you know, and we sort of like, and those things are definitely necessary in kind of building out a brand. And yeah, so anyway, I don't know, maybe we can talk about process, but Raheem, I know you want to get to the community cube, so I can stop talking now, but I think just at some point it might be good for us to really just kind of get together, hear everybody's ideas in like one brainstorming session or multiple brainstorming sessions, and then kind of like start to kind of put it together that way. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's and the reality is like, I think that's going to be like an ongoing thing. Like people have ideas today, people are going to have different ideas next week. So like, how do we implement that into our overall processes? Do we have some sort of like shared document that lives somewhere that people can update? Or I don't know, maybe it's just like ideas at UNNC.org that people can share ideas to. I don't know. But yeah, I think all this feedback kind of distills for me down into like this idea that we're trying to thread like the eye of a very small needle, where we're trying to get people who are already into this kind of thing, neighborhood council stuff, and people who have no idea what we do. And how do you speak to those two completely like divergent groups of people? But I think we have some good feedback. I think Lolita's idea about the mission statement is a great place to start. I don't think we'll take the mission statement word for word, but I think we can take that and take the essence of it and figure out what in there was it that made Lolita and Mickey both come to the neighborhood council. I think that's a really, really great place to start. And we got a lot of other really good feedback to go off on. So just to kind of set expectations, I think what we can hope to do is we can go away, we can kind of kick around some ideas for this text. If anybody has any ideas in the meantime, feel free to shoot them to us. We have a group email, it's com@unnc.org. Shoot any ideas that way. But we'll hope to come back to you guys.
COMM, right?
Yeah, sorry. But we can hope to come back to you for your next outreach meeting and have, if not one super solid idea, maybe a couple to kind of kick around and go from there. I think that's a cool.
Sounds great.
I think that's a terrible idea.
So thank you so much, Communications Committee, for coming tonight. Do we,
Lizzie, can I just jump in? Do we, who are board members, do we think that the motion we did was strong enough that Greg really is setting aside $6,000 for this?
Are we ready for that?
No, well, no, the motion I did was, kind of set it aside, don't give it to anyone else, spend it. Do you think that message was clear enough? Or do I need to make sure it's on executive committee that he does a budget adjustment?
Oh, for the executive.
I mean, I'm super duper biased, and I don't think it was strong enough. I think I was hoping that we could just approve the money outright. Like, we're not crooks who are going to run away with that money.
But we wouldn't have been allowed. We would not have been allowed to spend it anyway, because you have to approve it for specific projects and break it down. But I just want to make, so you guys think we need to talk to Greg a second time, make sure that this money's not throwing around in a different direction. Okay. I'll see what I need to do for the agenda for executive.
Yes.
Because my intention was definitely that it just slides over and gets put in the don't touch it pot. Teresa has her hand up.
Teresa, go ahead.
Thank you, Lizzie. I just want to make sure, Raheem, you're really gonna make an effort to figure out how we can, if you talk to Gibson and he says we have to have the city seal, you're gonna make sure we'll have that city seal?
Yes.
Okay, no, not just because of Gibson,
It's a
because
weird question.
I just thought what Laura said, and then I heard Rosie, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. How do we look? If you don't know who we are, how do we look official? You know what I mean? We look like a great organization, but we're really more than that. We are a certified neighborhood council. So that's all. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
All right. Raheem, I had set aside the other deliverable you wanted to have a discussion on, community cubes. Is that
Yeah,
something you
it's-
still want to address tonight, or we could, because we are
it'll be-
already 90 minutes into the meeting, so. And we still have one more agenda item to cover.
Well, and this is another idea, and I'll be super quick, Lizzie. It's a not fully baked idea, but it's one that we wanted to just run past the outreach committee to make sure that you guys liked at least the outline of the idea, so we can kind of continue to develop it. Again, the idea is that we would build these sizable cubes that were painted with chalk paint, so people could like write with chalk. We would prompt our stakeholders with a question or some sort of something. What is it that you bring special to your neighborhood, and kind of ask them to go to the community cube and write that on the cube. That's one example of a prompt. Like one of the things that we talked about in our branding presentation was this idea of being really good listeners. And so the question is like, how do we do that? And I think we think one way is to kind of be out in communities, out in public spaces with a place for people to give feedback to us. Obviously, this idea could go terribly, and people could write obscenities on these things, God forbid. But we'd like to get some funds to kind of do a pilot one of these, house it at a park, and kind of see how it goes. I think it might do a lot to kind of put us in the public, to kind of show who and where we show up for people.
Okay.
Just to add, I think what we would want from outreach is to sort of get some ideas on questions or prompts that we'd like to ask our community to answer on these cubes.
Okay.
I have a quick.
I myself would have to think about it. Is there
I have a question.
an actual an image of an actual cube I know I guess these are like prototypes, but I just haven't seen any.
Yeah, we don't have anything actual. This is all just kind of from our minds that we.
Oh, so this would be
an
like
idea.
Because sometimes
Still an idea.
what I've seen is there are so maybe in Cape Town on Western, I've seen some sort of by the curb sort of, and this is like city funded kind of furniture, and I think there's places where people can write or something. I don't remember, but I think it's around Western and maybe Third or First. So I think this kind of fits into that, but okay, but yeah, definitely I would have to think about actual message or what the content would be.
Yeah, and I think this
Laura?
sort of can serve as an intro, but maybe we should do like a brainstorming session, and invite other committee chairs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This would be now on this. From my understanding, this is something that would sit there for like a day or two, and they write on the cube, or they can stick it inside a little hole in the cube.
Right on the outside. The outside of it would be painted in like that chalk paint that, you can paint it and it becomes like a chalk surface. It'll be on the
So-
outside of the cube.
How big are these then? Are they huge?
They're pretty big, Rosie.
Yeah, they'd have to be to have, so you could have, if let's say you told the news we're going to be there and people would come, you'd have 50 people, you would have, at least 50. They'd have to be, several of them and very big.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Rosie's mind is running right now.
What kind of material were you thinking of?
Wood backed, and then just paint on the wood, paint the chalk stuff on the wood, plywood.
Okay. It's hard, without seeing an actual one. This is like really
And that's what I mean. And let me just say, like I think the budget line we have for this is like $250 for materials. Like it's literally just some materials. So it's something that it's a big shot in the dark, but it could be really cool. I don't know.
Yeah, like think of like I already pictured, I'm a DIYer. So I already pictured, cutting out large pieces of plywood, and then just connecting them with, some connectors and making a cube, literally just a cube, painting the cube with chalkboard paint, and then putting it somewhere and then providing chalk, just for people to answer the questions on social media or whatever we put out in the prompt.
Okay, I'm excitedly trying to say something if it were my turn.
Yes, Laura, go ahead.
Okay, so I think there will be a community event sponsored by the Amazing Grace Conservatory in early April that UNNC will participate in, and they will be closing Wilton Place from Washington to 18th.
Yeah, that's the
also
perfect
maybe
venue.
using the plaza at the Gramercy Apartments. But on a how do you get this there? How do you work on it point of view? If we could really get it thought out, that's where Grace lives. So we could maybe do, if we were doing this and this all works out by magic, use her own driveway as your staging place to bring your plywood, make your thing and store it, and then just roll it out as part of the UNNC thing. But we really have to think about it really fast. I love the idea, but I mean, who has a pickup truck, right, to move it from place to place?
Lots of neighbors.
So
thankfully.
but this particular event would be like right there. So
When
That's
is
cool.
it?
Yeah.
well, the Amazing Grace Conservatory is a conservatory. It's located at Wilton and Washington, and they teach kids to act, sing, dance. It's a conservatory, but they got
When is the
probably
event?
early April, late March,
Oh,
or
okay.
I'm encouraging them to do early April, because if they want any money, even like $100 from UNNC, there's a 60-day thing. So
Okay.
they're partnering with many organizations. It's the culmination of a grant that they have about the history of this community. So, so they're having to do an event to culminate their grant. So I can't give you much more information than that, because as it's been for 2 years with them, they're not clear on the topic, but they're clear that they are required to do an event and they want to close the street. And I'm clear, one of our newest board members lives right there, so we could stage easily. That's all. We don't need to worry about driving, walking things in by parking afar, because we could stage it in advance. Grace doesn't know I volunteered her driveway for that, but I happen to know she has a lot and a half and there's room. Just saying. Okay, that's all.
Another thing, if we couldn't do that, I mean, this is a cheap way. It's something is to use flip charts,
Right.
just ask them and then write it down on our flip charts, and we can dress them up, make them look cute, and write it on there, so that we'd have something, and it's something that people could see that we could put up later on, take pictures of them and then put them on our website.
Right.
Just a
And
thought.
even that would be hard to carry in, but we can, I mean, I live around the corner. We could
I mean,
stage in
those
my
can
front
fit
yard
in
too.
a SUV. They're not that big.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think,
Ideas. Lolita.
Yes, I think this is a great idea. Actually, I saw something like this at Starbucks where you write on a piece of paper, but they had a theme. I think if it's a theme, you don't have to worry about unkind words. So like a theme like, what does kindness mean to you? Or
I love that.
what is your community feels
Mhm.
like? So then you put your thoughts in on the cube, and it was cute. So I actually like this because it can be really nice and a good feeling. I felt good doing it when I was there. Because it's like, what kindness mean to you? And it was so many little sticky papers of people expressing what it meant to them, especially today. So I like that idea.
What Starbucks was this at?
The one over off the La Cienega in Beverly Hills there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Lolita. Teresa.
Thank you, Lizzie. I too think this is a fabulous idea. I just like to offer a couple suggestions. About 20 years ago, I did half a wall in my son's bedroom with chalk paint, and it worked out great. I think the cubes could be constructed, as Gabby said, with plywood. You definitely need to prime the wood before you put the chalk paint on, and that you could attach it, since it's a cube, just use hinges. You could use a piano hinge or 3 hinges, depending on what size, 3 hinges on each corner, and that way it can fold, or it'll be much easier to move around. And also you could put the stencil, like our new design, you could stencil that, with spray paint or paint it or something, so the cube will have our logo on it. And I think it's a great idea. What does the UNNC mean to you? Or what ideas do you have to make our community better, or something like that? I think, and to have at events, I think would be phenomenal.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Definitely. Yes. So I think there's good feedback on the community cubes, and but definitely, yeah, we definitely would need a brainstorming session. I think that's a great idea to keep the conversation going and settle on the right message for any of these deliverables.
Well, okay, so really quick, I know we're way over time, but so I think what I'd like to do then is put in a funding request for the next board meeting, just for the community cube. Just so as we kind of figure out the prompts and the messaging, we can at least like start to acquire materials and figure out the build of it. In case we can make this April thing, it'd be helpful if we can get that approved at the February board meeting. If you're good with that.
All right. So, and what was the budget, the request?
It was, sorry.
For the community cube?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 250
That
bucks.
was 250. Yeah.
Okay. So Laura, can we do that for the executive?
I think Teresa's gonna tell
Sorry,
us.
I'm muted. Teresa has her hand up and I'm muted, but I did just post it. If we want to make that a motion of recommendation to executive, we could. Or we don't need to either. It's up to you guys.
Do we have to do it here?
Would it have to come from communications and then with an endorsement from outreach?
It can't, we wouldn't have the time to take it to communications before executive. So I don't know that we need a motion. I mean, again, we did the set aside, this was in the package. So it's, okay, Teresa has heard this tiresomely now all week. I am the bureaucrat in chief, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right on this one. I mean, in other words, I think it's probably okay to just put it in as a request for executive. But
Okay.
then the
Yeah,
reason I
let's do
wrote
that.
the note was so that I remember it.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Are we okay then? On
I
this?
think,
Can
oh,
we
yeah,
move
I
on?
think so. I don't see
Okay,
anything
so
else.
thank you again, Communications Committee, for your
Thank you.
great job and work. And yes, we'll keep in touch. All right. So let's move on to the next. Bye-bye. To the next item, which is the proposal for interns. So I was thinking about it, and for outreach, I guess my first idea was that they could really be helpful if they are local, if they're willing to come to the area to help us with door-to-door visiting. And I was thinking of the population that Dolores is most concerned about, which is the senior citizens who are not using social media, are not texting. Some of them might be isolated, and they can really use information and so forth. But at the same time, my concern is that if they're going on our behalf, how are we I mean, I personally, when I see someone at the door, I'm always weary. Who are they? Are they trying to sell me something? How much information do I want to share with them? So those are a few concerns of mine. So I just would like to open up the conversation on this. How could we effectively, as for the outreach, for outreach purposes, how can we use their help, the help of these potential interns? Any suggestions? Okay, Teresa and Lolita.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Sure.
I guess I'm just trying to understand, what would you want them to do if they did go to a senior citizen's house?
Mhm.
What did you want them to do there?
I guess what Dolores, I'm just relaying,
Right.
being in I guess in Dolores's place. She's not here today, but she wanted to go door to door to visit them, and maybe hand them a bag with informational materials.
Oh, okay, so they would be doing a handout and letting them know, here's some things that you may be interested in, and please contact United Neighborhood, our website, or if they're seniors. I know she's talked many times about the senior citizens not even being on computers. So to say, here's some information about our organization. And so we would have them walk the blocks and do that. Is that what you're thinking, or Dolores is thinking? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Lolita?
I feel this is an excellent thing to do. A lot of seniors are alone and need someone to check on them. However, for a senior, I advise my mother not to open her door for strangers. So how will we get the information out first that, we will be in a community checking on our seniors, so they would be aware that this is going to happen? Because again, they are some of our most vulnerable adults some are alone. And like myself, I tell my mom, do not open the door for anyone.
Right.
So, but I think this is excellent, because we do need them checked on, and some of them are alone and have no one checking on them at all.
Right.
So, that's my thoughts.
So yes, I'm the same. I feel the same. You know, I'm conflicted about this. But anyway, Laura.
Well,
Thank
yeah,
you,
thank you. So that we do have senior lunch or meal programs all over the place in this area, right?
Okay.
I mean, you know, in other words, are we addressing seniors who are still in their home and alone? Are we addressing seniors who are in the senior housing? Are we addressing seniors who are going for the senior lunches to the senior programs, which are probably canceled again, but we're up for a while. And those senior programs have the names and probably contact information for a lot of seniors. So would we, I mean, in other words, I don't even know if we should be going up and down the blocks
I
versus
think that
addressing these
was-
particular locations. Well, how do, you know, I mean, I just don't know is what I'm saying. I don't know. I like the idea of canvassing and walking up and down the blocks and hoping that people answer the doors. Some of those people will not be speaking English. So if we have interns doing this, you know, I have canvassed my Angeles Vista community once or twice, but I did it with other people who, so we had multiple languages and more than one person doing it. So, and not everybody answered their door, clearly.
right.
Right.
I have done the same in, you know, I'm bilingual, so that was an advantage.
Mhm.
But yes, there are definitely people who will not answer the door,
Right.
even on my block. So,
Well, and I will say, I felt it felt better as the canvasser that I was going with 3 other people. I mean, there were 4 of us.
right. So I would, if I were to ask them for help, I think I would prefer that they go at least, you know, 2 at a time.
Mhm.
But do you think there's any other
Well, I think they
as
could.
outreach? Is there any other way we could use their help? Because that was my first you know, my first idea that yeah, they could help us with canvassing.
Well, they could research, you know, take our existing way out of date magnet of all the contacts for the different city departments.
Okay.
But research, first of all, which of these departments still exist or were merged into others, what are new ones, blah, blah, blah. And how does one reach them? I mean, I don't know that we are necessarily going to make a new magnet tomorrow, but to have the correct information, whether it ends up
Or
on a
maybe just
flyer.
print out the contents of the magnet.
Exactly. I'm saying,
yeah,
right, but to do a
Yes.
research
and update
project.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea. I would definitely yes ask them as well. Okay, who's next? Thank you, Laura. Who's next? Teresa?
I think Lolita was next.
Okay, Lolita.
I just wanted to interject. When I participated for many years on Meals on Wheels, they were expecting me or someone to come to their door. So is there any way that we can notify them in advance, or so they will expect the call, the outreach to them? Because I think it's a great idea, because we're checking on the seniors in our community, but at the same time, how do we make them feel comfortable enough to answer the door? So I don't know. I was just thinking, like, Meal on Wheels can we partner with them or something like this, or give the flyer to that organization to let them know that we will be out canvassing? I'm just
okay, but here I think we are talking about 2 different things, because the internship. Oh, you were not at the last meeting?
No, I wasn't
Okay,
at
so
I was not there.
okay, so there was a proposal from one of the new board members, Sarah Lacey,
Okay.
to have a group of students who are taking a I think a political science class.
Oh,
And
okay, yes,
have a
yes, yes.
community service requirement. So
Okay.
she thought that they could help us. So have the different committees sort of adopt these interns and work with them so that they could fulfill that requirement. So the checking on the neighbor on the senior citizens, that would probably be a different project.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
This was how to uh most effectively, use their help and have them, what would be also most useful to them. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, so we were thinking about maybe they can do the canvassing and have that experience of engaging this population that is vulnerable. But that would be like a one-time thing, and then they could share the information with them.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and then Laura's suggestion that they could do some research on the
Okay.
magnets that we have.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Okay, Teresa.
Thank you, Lizzie. I'm sort of piggybacking off of Laura. I like the idea of having an intern maybe do some research on census data. If they could compile a document to show us our racial, our social and economic data on our committee, then we would have that information when we go to move, forward with our outreach. If we know how many people are renters, how many single family homes we have, that kind of data might be available. It might be available on the Dunn website, but certainly census data. And if they could compile a document with that, that might be something that would help us to help outreach.
Okay. Thank you. That could be another project for sure. Yes. Any other suggestions? So I guess at this point, what we would need to do is relay all this feedback to Greg. And how many interns do you think we might need to request?
At least 2, nothing less than 2.
Yes, at least 2. Maybe, okay. I'm gonna say maybe 2 to 6 if we have kind of, right now we have kind of 3 possible projects for them. So, okay. So I guess, yes. I guess we could do that. All right. Thank you. And we'll move on to the next item, which I think it's approval. Unless we have anything else to say about this proposal. Okay, so we'll go ahead and approve the minutes. Let me share that.
No.
Is this, okay. So this is from the minutes from November the 9th. That was our last meeting. So let me scroll down, and whoever was in attendance that day, you would be eligible to move and second and approve the agenda.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from last 2 months ago.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. Who would like to?
I'll second.
Okay, Rosie. And what else do we do? Oh, do we have everybody's approval?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we're ready to adjourn the meeting. It is 9:10. Boy, this was very productive, but very long meeting as well. Okay, so we adjourn the meeting at 9:10 p.m. Thank you so very much for attending tonight and for your feedback and commitment to outreach. And good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see each other soon. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Good night, everybody. Thank you,
Good
Lizzie.
night.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa, Rosie, Lalita,
Good night.
Laura.
Good night. I'm walking, well, now I'm just turning off the meeting, Lizzie, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you. It was a good meeting.
Yes. Very productive. Thank you, Laura.
Bye.